Hi, my name is Amy Black, and I was recently diagnosed with invasive and non-invasive ductal carcinoma. I have breast cancer. And for those of you who don't know what that kind is, it's when there's cancer cells that are discovered inside your milk ducts. It's kind of the easiest way I can put it. It's a little more complicated than that, but it's pretty much the gist of it. The non-invasive cells have not yet grown out of the duct, and so they are isolated inside the duct and are not spreading. The invasive ductal carcinoma is where the cancer cell inside the duct has grown outside of it, and the cancer cells are spreading into the surrounding breast tissue. That's the one we're, of course, mostly concerned about. I do not have any lumps. I'm making this video because I want to make women aware that you can have breast cancer without having any lumps. The way we discovered mine was kind of a fluke, actually. I had 2 sores on my left breast that were just on the surface of the breast. And they weren't healing. I'd had them for like 3 months and they just weren't healing. So I made an appointment with my OBGYN and went in. And those turned out to just be clogged hair follicles. However, I am 40 years old. I turned 40 last July. And she said, you know what, let's go ahead and schedule a mammogram. One of the other issues I was having, that I'd been having for some time, was I had some dry, scaly skin on my breasts, and they were very itchy. And lotion seemed to help, so we weren't worried about it. We just thought maybe it was a little, just eczema, some dry skin. So I went in for my mammogram, really not worried about it. I do not have a history of breast cancer in my family. So my mom, my sisters, my grandmas, none of them have had breast cancer. From what I understand, I do have a relative, a great aunt who had breast cancer. But my doctor said that they usually look at the closer relations, like I just said. So I really wasn't worried about it. I went in for my mammogram, and my left breast was clear of anything really, and my right breast was full of what are called microcalcifications. Microcalcifications can happen for a number of reasons. You can have them because of age. You can have them because of past trauma, to the breast. You can have them because of chronic infection. Or infection that maybe just hasn't, cleared up yet. Or you can have them because of breast cancer. So after the technician explained that to me, I still really wasn't that worried. I mean, it seemed odd that the one breast had microcalcifications and the other one did not. So that was a little concerning. My doctor did have me go in for a biopsy. And if you've never had a mammogram, if you're afraid to have a mammogram because you've been told they hurt, it's painful, I was a little nervous. I'd heard that too. But it really wasn't. It was uncomfortable, is the way I would explain it. But I had a really good team of, nurses and, technicians who really made me feel comfortable, there was, some pressure, tugging and pulling, it was uncomfortable, but it wasn't, painful, it wasn't like, so I wouldn't worry about that. Like, if you're hesitant, don't hesitate, go get a mammogram. The biopsy, I was a little more worried about that. That was a little painful. I mean, it was just as uncomfortable as a mammogram, tugging, pulling, pressure. But, they numbed me up really good. The only time I really felt any pain was when they, pricked me with the needle to numb the area. And that was just really quick, and then it was gone. So, and they test, of course, to make sure you are numb. And that wasn't so bad, really. I didn't watch, I didn't look, I didn't want to look at the needle, I didn't want to look at the machine doing its thing, collecting the samples from inside my breast. So I just kind of looked at the nurse and talked to her while I was doing the biopsy, and still, I wasn't too worried. I was feeling pretty confident I was just going to come back, negative. And then my husband and I got called in 3 days later, and we knew something was up when we got met by a lady who introduced herself as my a nurse coordinator, I think is what they called her, is what she called herself. She was very polite, but my husband and I just kind of looked at each other. We were just like, why do I have a nurse, coordinator? And they took us back to an office where the radiologist was with our results, and he just cut right to the chase. And it hit us like a ton of bricks. He said, your test results came back positive for invasive ductal carcinoma. And, he said, I'm sorry, you have breast cancer. And my husband and I, it was stunned silence in the room. In that moment, our entire world shifted. It suddenly felt like my whole reality changed. Like I had just walked through some sort of portal into another dimension, and there was this other me who had cancer, and all of a sudden I was her. And I couldn't believe it. It was a lot to take in, and I think, from that moment on, I'm not sure I really heard everything they were saying. It just kind of kept going through my head. I have breast cancer. I have breast cancer. 2 weeks later, I'm still, trying to, work through this information. I've learned a lot, though. I learned so much that I didn't know before. We caught it really early. Like I said, there were no lumps, no rashes, really. I had itchy breasts and those 2 little sores that weren't healing. But, the sores, may have not had anything to do with it. And, the itching breasts, well, we all get dry skin that gets itchy sometimes, so I wasn't putting the two together. I just want to say, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your mid-30s, mid to late 30s, early 40s, if you're having any of these kind of symptoms, I'm not saying you would have the same, result as me. I don't want to scare people, but, if anything new like that is happening, like dry, itchy breasts, sores that won't heal, things like that, even if you don't have lumps, even if the doctor isn't worried about it, if you don't have lumps, if there's anything new, like I didn't have a history of, itchy breasts, prior to this, and I didn't have a problem with sores not healing prior to this. There can be early signs that, your body tries to speak to you. I purposely made this video without makeup because I also suffer from polycystic ovarian syndrome and endometriosis and rheumatoid arthritis. I know. So this on top of that was like, what is wrong with my body? I'm not a really unhealthy person. I eat pretty healthy. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't, do drugs. I don't, I don't eat a lot of crap. I eat pretty healthy. I do struggle a little bit with my weight, probably from having 7 pregnancies. I have 3 living children. I had 4 miscarriages prior to all this. Life struggles knows no bounds. We all have things we go through. Some of us go through more than others. I'm really grateful for what I have. I have a very supportive husband, a very supportive family, and that's really important, I think. But I wanted to start this video, journey with my cancer. I have a bilateral mastectomy that I'm going to be having next week. I'm going to make another video then, and continue to just kind of share what I'm learning about this and through this experience. I just want to share my journey with anyone else who is feeling kind of alone and maybe they need some support. Let you know you are not alone in this. I feel really grateful, to be able to share my experience. I'm hoping something good will come out of it for someone else. And yeah, I'm just going to end this video here, and I'll make, some other videos to share what I've learned and what I'm going through. And hopefully that will help someone else. So talk to you later. Bye.